Hi, very good morning, children. Welcome to session 4 and lesson biodiversity and its conservation. How are you, children? How are you doing? Yeah, hope you're doing well. Now, come to our new topic, that is origin of biodiversity and balance in nature. We know that many habitats exist in our nature. Habitat. What is meant by habitat? The natural living place of any living creature can be called as a habitat. Here we can find different types of habitats, like say there's a forest habitat, desert habitat, then say there's a forest, then grassland. In this way we can find different types of habitats exist in nature, but all these habitats are completely different from each other. So what about the living conditions we can find? Say this temperature. For example, take a temperature in a desert. And temperature is a very high in a desert, but in a forest it is a little bit less. And for example, take a rainfall. Even rainfall is a very high in a forest area, but what about deserts? It's a very less. Got it. In this way, the living conditions are different from habitat to habitat, and that's why these habitats are also different, quite different from each other, right? But we cannot say that as all these habitats are present in our planet, we cannot say that all these habitats are same, right? And they are diverse in the nature. Diverse means we can find many differences among these habitats. But these habitats are often destroyed by some factors like natural calamities. Calamities means what? The activities that leads to destruction can be called as calamities. What are the examples? Means we can say these are floods. When we talk about this East Godavari, then West Godavari, like this, there we can find the severe floods and different types of villages, fields, agriculture fields, and the next residential areas have been damaged severely by these floods. Okay, and even there's earthquakes. Earthquakes are very dangerous, and they cause a very massive destruction. That means a part of the globe will be totally destroyed because of this earthquakes, right? And even this forest fires. Forest fires means now and then, so we can find see this fire will be developed in a forest, and that fire will totally destroy the forest. And yeah, especially California, then Australia, this forest fires are quite common. And once they start, no, even we cannot, even though we're trying hard to control them, we cannot control them up to days and weeks. What? In such a way, this forest fires and all these things, they cause a very great damage to this ecosystems. That means to the nature, and even this interventions. Human interventions means that means involvement or interference of humans. Nowadays we're clearing these forest areas for residential purpose, for constructing houses, for constructing say this industries, then the laying of roads, laying of railways. Okay, for all these things, what do you call all these things? We call them as human interventions. Because of this, all these activities like floods, earthquakes, the next forest fires, and even human interventions, they completely wipes out. Wipe out means they remove the diverse form in the nature. As a result, what means? The means whatever the plants and the animal species we can find in that particular area, almost all of them will be disappeared. And yet after some time we can find the organisms growing in those areas. Okay, this is quite natural in our surroundings. That means in our nature. Now and then the nature is destroying this natural habitats, but again what happens, again the life will exist, the life will develop in that area, right? So this process often occurs as a sudden invasion of plants, insects, microbes, humans, etc. So this process, how it occurs means by the invasion. By the invasion means what? That means entry or the interaction of this plant species, or say there's insects, then the microbes, then the humans, like this. Correct. Okay, and then these they interact with each other and form new habitats and increase in number till the habitat gets balanced in its own manner. Okay, that's why. So whenever they enter any habitat, then what happens? They interact. Interact means they form a relation with their surroundings, and then what happens? They try to increase their number, and finally what happens? A quiet balance will be maintained among all the living organisms in that habitat. Got it? So this is the way how this biodiversity occurs, and balance in nature will be achieved. Clear? Right. Now let's go to the next topic. There is IAS, and IAS means you think this Indian Administrative Service. That means collector, like this. Of course, that is correct. But here, according to biology, IAS means invasive alien species. Invasive alien species. What is meant by invasive? Invasive means entry, we can say. Alien. Aliens means, whom do you call aliens? Now and then in the movies we can find that some new organisms are coming from the outer world. Outer world means there is extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial means, that means outside of our galaxy, or outside of our universe, right? So they are said to be aliens. But here aliens means here non-local species. For example, think that dog is not present in our area, but when a dog enters our area, then we call that as a non-local species. Non-local species. Okay, and I will give you some examples later. So when the alien species is introduced or invades, it spreads outside the natural habitats and it threatens biodiversity. So when any new organism, whether it's a plant or an animal or a microorganism, enters our area, then what happens means that entered organism will cause a destruction, to the natural habitats. Okay, and also threatens biodiversity. Means it causes destruction to the different types of plants and animal species which are already present in that particular area. Got it? Okay, and what you call this process means this is called as an invasive alien species. Got it? So here their negative impacts. So once they enter, they show their impact. They show their effect on the production of food, and the next plant and animal species, and even human health. Right? In this way, all these factors will be completely collapsed by the entry of this alien species. That means which are new to that environment. Correct? And here, what are the examples means? The Spanish flag plant. Spanish flag plant. Can you see this? Yeah, this is Spanish flag plant. And then water hyacinth. So generally, you may see this. In the water bodies which are present outside of our residential areas, right? But once this water hyacinth enter any water body, then what happens means within a short period it expands to such a large number. That means the whole water body will be completely filled with this plant. Okay, so that what happens? So the animal species which are living inside that plant, inside that water body, they will be affected. they will be affected. That means before this water hyacinth, all the living organisms were living in a peace and without any destruction, without any disturbances. But once this water hyacinth enters that water body, then automatically it starts developing some disturbances in the lives of the living organisms which are present in that water body. Correct. In this way, they cause very notorious effects for the inventions. Notorious means very terrible, right? And you may think that there's pigeons are very beautiful birds, and they are the symbols for the peace. Yeah, that is okay, but can you say that these pigeons belong to our country? No, actually, these pigeons belong to these Egyptian areas, Egypt, right? But that means long back, while our country was under the rules of different types of kings at the time, so some of the kings they brought these pigeons to India, especially to this Hyderabad, right? So here, what is pigeon? So pigeon is a alien species. Why? Means it doesn't belong to our country or our area. So once this pigeon is introduced or a pigeon enters our Hyderabad, then what it means, it causes a great damage to the animals which are already present in our area. That means in that time, see, these crows were present in a very large number. But by the entry of this pigeon, see, their number, crow's number becomes less and less. Now we can find a very less number of crows in Hyderabad. Okay, but actually, what are these crows means? These crows are said to be natural scavengers. Natural scavengers means they depend on the dead and decaying matter of the animals and the plants, and so that means by eating these dead bodies, they clean up our surroundings. Okay, that's why we call them as scavengers. But now these scavengers number is decreased because of what? Because of this pigeons, right? So in this way, this invasive alien species, they cause a great destruction to the plant and animal species which are already present in that habitat. Got it? Okay. Then, see, there's a diversity. Diversity means what? Variations, differences. This diversity is naturally seen in wild plants and animals, but there is a great diversity in the food crops also. Food crops. That means in our past, when we observe our country, in our country, there were around 50,000 varieties of rice plants. 50,000 varieties of rice plants were present in the past. But now the diversity has been decreased, and now we can find only dozen of them. That means only 12 varieties that are available nowadays. You can imagine where the 50,000s and where there's a dozen. And what about the future? If we are not at all taking any care, then what happens? Even this dozen, they may decrease to 5 or 3 or 2, 1, and finally nothing. Then what happens? No rice will be available. That means no food will be available at that time. Correct? And even see, around 50,000 plant species were used as a main food materials. Staple food means important food. Whatever the food we are using today, like say there's a dal, the next a groundnut, then say different types of vegetables, all these things are said to be staple food, right? So we were using 5,000 plant species as a staple food, but now we have only 20 species. Only 20 species are feeding the majority of the world's population. Correct. Here, by these two examples, you can observe that means how the number is rapidly decreasing, right? And who is responsible for this? Ultimately, the human. Here we can say human is responsible for all this destruction. Okay, and then here, if you carefully observe these two pictures, what you can find? Yeah, very good. The butterfly and these bees, they're what they're doing, they're sucking the nectar from the flowers. Now, even in our surroundings, we can find that these bees and honeybees, say these butterflies, they're visiting, they're sitting over the flowers, and they're doing something. What they're doing? That means they're sucking the nectar and they prepare honey, right? Okay, but in that process, they're helping the plant in one aspect. What is that? Pollination. There is a pollination. Transfer of a pollen from anther to the stigma can be called as a pollination, and you study that in your 7th class, right? So, when pollination occurs, then what happens? Then automatically another process will be continuous. What is that? Yeah, fertilization. And after the completion of fertilization, the flower will be converted into fruit. So what is a fruit? Fruit means it's a food item. And even we get different types of grains like rice, wheat, jova, all these things. Because of what? Because of this pollination and fertilization. But how this pollination and fertilization is carrying out? That means by these animals, there is butterfly, honeybees, and also different types of insects. Correct. In this way, these insects are doing a great favor to these humans, not only the humans, but also all the animal species. Just because of these animals, we are getting our food. But now, the number of these insects are decreasing. Due to what? Due to spraying of pesticide. Pesticide. We can find that the farmers are spraying different types of chemicals in their fields to kill different types of microbes, like say there's insects, the next bacteria, fungi, then a pest, all these things. So if it is a bacteria, then we call that as a bactericide. Fungus, fungicide. Then say there's a pest, pesticide. Insect, insecticide. Correct. So in this way, we are using, nowadays the farmers are totally using this dangerous chemicals, and because of these dangerous chemicals, these very very useful insects are also destroyed. Okay, that's why it is better not to use these harmful chemicals, but instead of them, we can use what? We can use biopesticides. Biopesticides, which do not cause any harm to these useful insects like butterflies, then honeybees, wasp, like these insects. Correct. Okay, that's why. So we must use the chemicals, but what type of chemicals? Which do not cause any harm to the nature. Correct? Right. What's the next one? That is efforts towards conservation. Now the government is taking proper care and very preventive measures in order to conserve, in order to save the flora and the fauna. Flora, already told you, flora means a flower, right? And the fauna means a plant, fauna means animals. So, in order to save different species of plants and animals, now the government is taking very, very, very cautious measures, right? In our country, forests are demarked as national sanctuaries. Now, in our country, in order to save these plants and animals, what the government is doing means the government declared or considered this forest areas as natural sanctuaries. Natural sanctuaries. Okay, in a coming topic, we can deal with them. National sanctuaries, and the next reserved forests, and even as parks. Okay, so because of this, what happens means the government is able to protect all the varieties of plant and animal species. Got it? Okay. Now the next one, that is a Project Tiger. What is Project Tiger means? Actually in India we can find 60% of world's tigers. Okay, we can say that the tiger population is very, very high in our country. But for the last 5 years, what happened means their population decreased to 35%, right? From 60% to say there's a 35% is decreased because of what? Nowadays this that means in those days the people were killing these tigers for their skins and then for their meat and for their say their nails, all these things. Okay, that's why their population has been decreased to there's a 35%. Okay, and that's why now the population of tigers is very, very less in our country. Okay, so the government decided to protect these tigers. So for that, the government has implemented one program. What is that? That is a Project Tiger. Project Tiger. In 1972, this Indian government launched the program that is Project Tiger. Project Tiger. And in this Project Tiger, what we do means that means we take care of this. We take care of these tigers in all the aspects. That means we collect this male and female tigers, and the next by doing some artificial methods, what we do, that means we get many younger tigers, and then next we take care of their food, then health and all the things, and so that they grow well within a short period. Once they grow to sufficient size, and again the government release them into this forest area. Got it? So that's the main advantage of this process. Okay. So at present we can find 27 tiger project reserves are present in our country, and they are covering with how much area means 35,000 square kilometers. 35,000 square kilometers, and now because of this project tiger, the number of tigers have been increased very rapidly. Actually the number of tigers in our country before this 1972 was 2000s, only 2000s, but now that means up to last 3 years. Okay, now its number increased to 3,800. That means almost double, we can see. Okay, from 2000 to 3,800. Okay, it's all the credit goes to this Project Tiger. Okay, and as this Project Tiger gets succeeded, now the government is focusing on the other projects like Project Rhinos and Project Lions, Project Elephants, like this. Okay, in each and every project, what we do means we take care of that animals. Got it? Okay. So this is in a Project Tiger. Don't think that only tigers are protected, but tiger. What is the food of a tiger? The tiger mostly feed on a deer and also the other herbivorous animals like say this goat, sheep. The next say this rabbits, like this. So here, in order to provide the food material to the tiger, we must protect these herbivorous animals also. And the herbivores depend on what? They depend on plants, grasses, herbs, all these things. So apart from these tigers, we must also take care of these herbivorous animals and also the food of herbivorous animals like plants. Got it? That means what do you call that means that is that we food web. So here the tiger's food web should be protected. So on which animals the tiger is depending, those animals, and the food of those animals is also protected. And what you call all these things together means this is called a food web. Here you can see that, see. So here if you carefully observe this picture, you can find that a tiger is depending on say this rabbit, the next deer, the next some other animals like this, and all these animals are getting their food from where? From say like grasses, all these things. What? So what do you call this combination of all these living organisms means? We call that as a food web. What? Then All organisms in nature influence each other in some way or the other. Alright. So when deer we can take deer. So deer controls tiger population. When it deers are more, then automatically tigers will get more food, and so automatically tiger population also increases. So for example, when it deers are very less, then what happens? Then automatically they show their effect on a tiger population. Correct. In this way, each and every animal, whether it's an animal or a plant, it influences the others. Correct? So, what we have to do means we must protect all the living organisms, whether it's a plant or an animal. Correct? Okay. Then here we can talk about the special people, tribals. Already in the 7th class, you deal with this. Who are the tribals? Yeah, tribals are the people who are living in the forest. They live in a forest and they die in a forest. That means that their whole life is completed in a forest itself. They completely depend on forest for their food, for their shelter, for their medicines, for everything. They depend on this forest areas, and they use this forest area. That means according to their needs only, but not for any greed, but not for any greedy nature. What? Okay, without causing any damage to the forest, they use this forest and also forest products. Correct. But what we are doing, we are completely destroying the forest areas for our greedy nature. Correct. Okay, that's the difference between these tribals and the other people. That means normal civilized human beings. We are saying that we are highly civilized, but no, that's useless, right? The national parks and the sanctuaries. Now, what is a national park means? This is a large area hitched to conserve. Hitched means which is the wildlife. Okay, that large area is used to conserve. Conserve means to save wildlife. That means especially this wild plants and animals in their natural habitat. Or say for example, there is a forest. In the forest, you can find different types of animals and even plants. So when we protect all these things, all these plants and animals, then we can consider that area as a national park, right? So what are the examples means? Because of this national parks, we can save the animals like say this lions, tigers, rhinos, elephants, crocodiles, pythons, all these things, right? Okay, and here in these national parks, human activity is completely banned. Completely banned. That means no human is allowed to enter such areas. Why? Why means if a humans enter, then they may cause some disturbances. They may kill some animals like this, and even grazing animals. Even sometimes there's a crows, there's a cows, then a buffaloes, like these animals. They go to the surrounding areas and they start grazing. Even such activities are also completely prohibited. Correct. So there should be no disturbance to these animal species in case of a national parks. Then only these animals number can be improved. Correct. So that's a meaning, and that's aim of a national parks. Okay, and what is a good example means? We can say this Jim Corbett National Park at Gauhati. Jim Corbett National Park, right? Even in social studies also, you may get this national parks, different types of national parks. And what's the next one? A sanctuary. What is sanctuary means? Sanctuary is also a place where protection of animals, different varieties of animals is maintained. That means in sanctuaries also animals are protected. But what is the difference between national park and the sanctuary means? In a national park, no human is allowed. But in case of sanctuary, so up to certain limit, humans are allowed. See, human activity in a limited way without affecting the habitat. Okay, humans are allowed, but under strict rules and regulations. They should not touch the animals, and they should not tease the animals. They should not cause any harm to the animals. In this way, we can find many rules and regulations. Right? So that's the main difference. Both the aim of sanctuary and the national parks both are same, but the difference is no, in case of national park, no humans are allowed. But in a sanctuaries, humans can enter. Right? And what's a good example for this means we can say there's a park called sanctuary at Warangal, that is AP, Telangana, of course. Right? Then, have you seen this picture? What is this? Yeah, this is a very, very beautiful animal, and the children love this animal. Why means because of their lovely appearance and innocent face, right? What is this animal? Yeah, this is a panda. This is a panda, but now, the number of these pandas is greatly decreasing because of this human activities. Say some humans are killing these pandas for the greedy nature of them. Okay, that's why now the government has taken the steps to protect these pandas. Okay, that's why what they're doing means the means we call them as endangered animals. Okay, why means their number is very, very less, and if we don't take protective measures, then they completely disappears. They become extinct, right? So that's why the government decided to protect these pandas. Okay, so these baby pandas are brought to these laboratories, and they are taken care in all the aspects regarding their food, then health, then shelter, all these things. Okay, and even that means how they feed these pandas means here we can find some conservationists. These people, what they do means they dress themselves as a pandas. Okay, so that see these real pandas, they think that these humans are also pandas. So in this way, these humans they mix up with these real pandas, and then they feed and they take care of these animals. Okay, so in this way they protect these animals up to certain age. Okay, and once they grow to sufficient size, then again these pandas are released into the forest. Got it? So this is the way how these pandas are protected. And with this, we come to the end of this topic, and that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.